everybody, Billy here. I want to talk to you guys about installing an Aluminess roof rack if you order it from them and have it shipped to your home to put it on yourself. And the mistakes that I've made in the beginning of the process and how I'm going to fix them and how great Aluminess customer support has been. So first of all, if you live anywhere near Aluminess, like by all means, I would say drive there, have them put on the rack. It costs quite a bit of money to have the rack shipped to us because it's massive. It's a big 16-foot by 4 or 5 feet wide rack made out of aluminum. It's just quite large and costs a lot of money to ship. Unfortunately, we didn't have the van at the time that we ordered it. We ordered it prior to the van because I really wanted to have it at the start before I cut the hole for the Maxxfan or the Maxxfan. Because I really wanted to kind of triple check where we were cutting the hole and make sure it was going to work with the rack. They gave us the measurements and everything, but I like kind of having it, seeing things, and then putting it together that way. So that being said, we had the rack shipped to us. They did a great job. They packaged it really nicely. It was delivered by a freight company. They let us know when they were going to be showing up, gave us a time frame, called before they came. Nice delivery process, very well taken care of. Took a couple of people to get out of the truck. And then basically we waited till we were finished cutting the hole for the Maxxfan and we were ready to put the rack on. So you guys have seen the Maxxfan videos and the hole went really well and it lines up perfectly with the rack. So what we did next was a friend of ours with a construction company had a lift at a job site and helped us get the rack up on top of the van. What we used was a big extended arm forklift with 4 straps and hoisted the rack on top, and we guided it down onto the bolts. Here's where, and that went very well. I wouldn't recommend it. It's not the professional way to do things. You could probably go to a professional outfitter or someone that installs racks and they could do this a little better for you, but it worked for us. It was what we had available at the time. Like I said, if you can get it installed by Aluminess, by all means, go get it installed by Aluminess. Anyway, that all did go very smoothly. It's not a terribly heavy rack, so it was totally fine. That was all that went smoothly. So I made a mistake when tightening the bolts down. I did not lubricate them with the Never Seize, which is provided by Aluminess, and it's also the first step on the instructions. I made a mistake. We told you guys from the start we'd be 100% real and honest with you guys and show you all our challenges, and hopefully you don't make the same ones. So listen to the instructions. First piece of advice: just read all instructions very thoroughly before doing anything. And wear the proper safety protection and then follow along with the steps. So what happened was I read the instructions when we got the rack, but it was about 2 months before we got the van. So I should have read them over thoroughly right before installing the roof rack, but I did not. So what happened was at least half or more of the bolts, when tightening them down, seized. They just locked up. One of them actually cut right through the bolt because it seized up. I cranked it one more time and it twisted half the bolt right off. So I, again, didn't read through the instructions, gave Aluminess a phone call, and Tiny and Hannah were super great and got back to us right away and were able to tell us that we didn't read the instructions in a nice way. They put it very nicely. I'm surprised they were as nice as they were. But they were able to tell us that we didn't follow the instructions and we needed to put the Never Seize on. My personal experience with Never Seize, working with my father in the garage, working on cars for years, was we always use Never Seize so that nuts and bolts didn't seize up over time when out in the elements. And that's kind of what we always use Never Seize for. So I didn't really think that I had to use it as a lubricant and the Never Seize before putting these bolts on. So you do. Anytime you do stainless steel, you fasten a stainless steel piece of hardware to another stainless steel piece of hardware, you need to lubricate it or they will seize up. Some of them didn't, but the majority did. So that's that you have to do that. So Aluminess was really helpful. They told us, they were really nice to us on the phone, and they shipped us all the hardware we needed to redo the job. And they did that free of charge except for the $10 shipping, so we're really happy with their customer service. They were really helpful. They didn't have to do that. It was our mistake. They told us in the instructions what to do, but they were really cool. They got us the stuff right away, same week. So now next step is I'm gonna show you guys what it looks like, what happened, and then I'm going to get to taking them off. What I'm going to do is I'm not going to take the roof rack off again. I'm going to loosen up one side all the way and take the other side, the nuts completely off, and then lift that side up that they're completely off and put these pads underneath, which is what they shipped them with. And then that'll hold it up. I'll slide the new set of hardware into the roof rails and get the new ones tightened up, and with a lubricant. So, lesson learned, read the instructions, and I'll show you guys in a second what it looks like. Alright guys, so I took off all the bolts and nuts on one side, well the nuts all off on one side, and left the other ones on, but loosened them on the other side so the rack doesn't fall off, and lifted up the one side of the rack and put the styrofoam blocks underneath it that came with the rack when they shipped it. And it's working pretty well. So if you ever have to do this is it's not impossible. I'm doing it kind of by myself. I mean, Allison's here to help me, but I did lift it by myself and shove the blocks underneath. So it's not that heavy to lift up half the rack and get this situated correctly. So I'm going to be sliding in the new hardware. I'm going to definitely be using the lube and tightening, getting this side kind of loose fitted on, and then I'll do the same on the other side. And then I can tighten it all up again with the lubricant. Don't forget the lubricant, and don't forget to read your instructions. All right, see you in the next video. All right, everybody, the roof rack's on top of the car. It went really well. I can say from personal experience that it's pretty easy to fix that problem. Just try to avoid it from the start so you don't have to take the roof rack off again. But lifting it up by myself on one side, sliding a couple of the styrofoam blocks in underneath it, and sliding out the old mounting plates that they gave us and putting in the new ones was pretty easy, effortless kind of process. Next step, we didn't tighten down any of the nuts or bolts yet up top because I figure we're gonna test fit the ladder first. I did thread a couple of the nuts up top, and I can tell you now from personal experience that the lubricant is clutch. It definitely works really well, which is why Aluminess recommends it, and pretty much every website that tells you how to fasten stainless steel nuts to stainless steel bolts. So that worked really well, but we're gonna hold off on tightening down all of them to make sure the ladder fits. So that's our next step. So we're working on the ladder now. We're following the instructions according to Aluminous, which we've learned our lesson already. But here's the ladder. We've got it set up on a couple of horses. I'm leaving the protective cover on it right now until we get it all situated so I don't screw anything up. But first step is to clamp these L brackets to the Aluminous ladder and see how the fit works, because we're going to have to drill holes in the side of the L bracket. There's holes in the ladder and there's holes in the bottom of the L bracket to go on the mounting feet, the mounting plates, but there's no hole in the side of the L bracket, and that's because, you know, it's slightly different for each vehicle, how that's going to work, how it's going to mount. We're going to have to slide this L bracket back or forth or up or down. So we're going to test fit that. Once we get it to a good spot while we have it on the van, then we can mark the holes and drill the holes. Once we get the holes drilled on the top end of the ladder, we can then mount the top of the ladder and then work on mounting the base of the ladder to the undercarriage of the van. So that'll be the next step. We're gonna go see if it fits. So it turns out it's much easier to do the ladder before the roof rack, because the roof rack's kind of in your way. You could do it, but it's just, you know, this little gap here is it's about on this height above the ladder when you're trying to work on it. So we took the screws off, the nuts off this side on the rack, put some on the other side, and just propped this up pretty high. It's still on there pretty secure on the other side, and you're able to tilt it up. So that's what we're doing now. We got that out of the way, and we're following the instructions exactly. I was trying to clamp the ladder to the L brackets before we brought it up here, but that's not entirely possible. You can't really get it on right. So do exactly as they say. And of course, again, I'm not following instructions, but exactly the steps they say is tighten these nuts down, you know, leave them a little loose so you can slide the brackets around. So we did that, and then we brought the ladder up here and clamped the ladder to the L brackets. Now we're gonna test fit the bottom and check out the aluminum plate. We're gonna have to use the optional aluminum plate that came with it to attach the ladder to the underside of the van. So we're gonna, now that we got this clamped up here, kind of where we think it should be, we'll test that. If that all lines up, next step is to just mark these holes and start drilling. I'm still gonna probably mark these up here and bring them into the garage to drill them so I can get a better result. I'd rather drill in the comfort of the garage instead of sideways up here on top of the van. So that'll be next. So here's a look at the bottom. We have it clamped as well as the top to test the fit. Right now it's kind of just flexing a little bit because I have it clamped up on the top around the vehicle there. But once we tighten this down, everything should be flush. So I'm kind of thinking that's a good fit. It's pretty flush up top, and I think we're gonna get started with drilling some holes. Got everything marked up on the vehicle, and then took the L brackets back down because I marked off where the holes are going to be. So that's where the hole is going to be in our L bracket. This is what's going to work for us on our Sprinter model and our height with the ladder that we got. But that's where we're going to drill the hole. I marked it first with a punch and a hammer, which would be this guy, just because the drill bits on metal tend to wander a little bit when you start drilling. So that should keep the drill bit in place and get the hole exactly where we need it. So that's the step there. I actually need some covers for the vise so I don't scratch everything, but right now I'm using cardboard, make it work right. So I'm gonna get this hole drilled. It's a 1/4 inch drill bit we need to use, and it should drill through this aluminum pretty easily. And then I'm gonna use that hole to mark the other one in the same exact spot. And that should be good. All right, so we got the hole marked with the punch and hammer, and we did the first bracket, and we're gonna just finish the second bracket off right now. This hole's in the exact same place as the other one, and we'll just get it done. Shouldn't take long to get through this aluminum. It works, it goes through pretty quick. Going nice and easy here, not pushing too hard. Little by little, nice and straight. A little bit of pressure. There you go. That'll do it. It's gonna be hot to the touch, so always be careful. Always wear eye protection. Probably should have worn some hand protection, but that should do it. Now let's test fit it, see if we can screw it on. According to the instructions, we were supposed to drill 1/4 inch holes with a 1/4 inch drill bit. Rue's here with us. He's getting a little upset because I'm not paying attention to him, but I'll pet him too. But it turns out these are 5/16 bolts and nuts, so we had to make the holes a little bit bigger on the L bracket. That's totally fine. They gave us 2 5/16 nuts and bolts, but on the instructions it doesn't mention to use them anywhere, so we have 4 1/4 inch bolts and nuts that go on the bottom when we attach the bottom to the car, but then we had these 2 5/16 which fit perfectly through the hole on the ladder and work perfectly fine for this situation. So just made the holes a little bigger on the L brackets. They're all kind of tightened up on here now. Not tightened, they're a little loose, so we can move them around and wiggle it and get it in place. But we're about to put it up on the car and see how it fits. Then we can get the bottom ready. All right, so we got the ladder attached to the top of the van now, and now that it's attached up there loosely, we didn't snug anything up, of course, we can start to figure out where the plate is going to go at the bottom. Some say that this will actually fit right onto the bottom of the vehicle, but ours required the plate, so they give you the plate anyway. It's optional if you need it, and we do. So the first step is we've kind of measured all that and lined up the ladder exactly where we want it. We could nudge it and fudge it up top, but we can't move this once we get it screwed in. So we got a couple of holes marked, one here, one on the other side, and we're gonna drill through the van, that piece of the van, and straight through the plate, and then we can bolt the plate to the van. So we'll show you that in a second once we get it done. All right, so the holes have been drilled through the under part of the van and the aluminum plate. We got that bolted up, of course, with the never sees. Next step is to drill some holes through the ladder plate there and the other aluminum plate attached to the van. So we're gonna mark those holes basically evenly from the sides of the ladder there and drill and bolt that up. We'll be done. All right, so here's the finished product on the bottom. Here's the ladder screwed to the plate with those 2 bolts, and the plate screwed to the van with the top 2 bolts. Came out pretty well. It's super sturdy. I've got it all tightened up down now, and the top's tightened down, and I'll show you that in a second, and then we'll unwrap it and get it done. We're tightening everything down now in the roof rack. The ladder is on. It's a tight squeeze there, but it makes it. It's a good clearance. I'm glad we kind of put the rack on first, tested it, and then did the ladder, but I'd still do that, test it, lift the rack up, and put the ladder on. It was much easier. But just wanted to show you how we're doing the never sees. Just a little dab on top of each one of the bolts, and then as you screw the nut on, as you fasten it down, it will start to, it'll just carry that never sees with it through all the threads. And it's been working pretty well, just like that. Just wanted to show you guys. Here's the finished product now with the roof rack. All fastened down with the never sees. It was super easy with that lubricant. And it's complete. There is a hole on the top of ours in case we want to add another Maxxfan, but you could also buy a cover from Aluminess to cover that up. I have a feeling we're probably going to cover that with solar panels, so we're not too worried about it. And there's how the Maxxfan fits. A perfect fit. And there's the front. And there's Allison.
Cheers.
having a drink, which I'm going to join her in a second. And I'll show you guys the ladder in a second too. So here's a closer look at everything fastened down from just below the rack on the driver's side anyway. Everything came out quite nice. Super easy to fasten down with the never sees, like I said. And the only thing I would do differently is look at that clearance for the ladder and the rack. And we did test this out, but I would definitely give myself about another 1/4 inch so you can lower where you drill the holes on the L bracket a little bit, you know, maybe in between. So when I say put the ladder on first, I would probably kind of take that back. I'd say do both kind of at the same time if you were doing it just like I did, so you can kind of measure this out and make sure it all fits well. Because if that was just a little bit higher, this wouldn't have worked out very well, and I'd have to get new L brackets from Aluminess, and they would probably want to kill me. But thanks for all your help, guys. You were super cool for sending me all the new hardware for the rack. The ladder came out great. We really like it. Everything is super sturdy, and we're totally stoked on this. We probably won't be up here for a while until we figure out what we're gonna do for solar panels and light bars and things like that. But for now, we are done with this.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching our Aluminous roof rack and ladder installation video. We had so much fun with the project, and Aluminous is really a great company to work with. If you have any questions, just shoot us a comment. If you liked our video, give us that thumbs up, and subscribe to our channel. We'll be posting a lot more van conversion content, and we'd love to hear from you. Thanks.